Hello and welcome to my presentation. This is an introduction to the iPhone photography for beginners. Why should you take pictures with an iPhone? The answer: you should use your iPhone to take pictures because that's the only way you can shoot people and cut off their heads without going to jail. The iPhone was introduced way back in 2007, and the original iPhone had a camera. It was photograph only. There was no video capability, and it was a tiny little camera with no flash. In 2007, this camera could only take 1/2 megapixel. Today, in 2023, our newest iPhone, the iPhone 14 Pro, can take a whopping 48 megapixel, 48 million pixels, 96 times greater the resolution of the original iPhone back in 2007. So over the years, the cameras and the photography software has just gotten better and better year after year. Here, for example, is a photograph taken of a girl on an original iPhone circa 2007. Here's the same girl taken with a camera that was 12 years newer, and you can see instantly the improvement in the quality of the photographs. On the left here is an original photograph taken with an iPhone 1 back in 2007. On the right is the same photograph taken with an iPhone 10, and you can see the dramatic improvement in the quality of the photographs. However, that doesn't mean that the original iPhone is not worth anything. Here is a story I saw 1 week ago. A first generation, an iPhone 1, still in the box, sold for more than $63,000. It was that precious to someone. Every day, more photos are taken around the world with the iPhone than any other camera in the world. Think about that. One of the reasons is there's so darn many iPhones. There are currently 1.7 billion iPhones being used around the world. That's why on the news, we now just expect to see everything because there's so many cameras out there all over the world recording the entire process. I want you to understand just how important this iPhone is to Apple. Apple's iPhone revenue last year was $201 billion. That's just selling iPhones. And that amounts to 52% of Apple's entire total revenue. So the iPhone isn't just an afterthought to Apple. It is the main moneymaker for Apple, which is the most valuable corporation in the world. Last year, in 2022, Apple invested $2.28 billion in research and development just on the iPhone. And a lot of that went into the camera and the photography. There are 807 Apple engineers who are currently assigned just to work on the iPhone and the iPad cameras and software. Think about that. 800 engineers, and these are well-paid engineers. These engineers, I checked, their salaries range from $125,000 to all the way up to $195,000, depending upon if you have a bachelor's degree with 5 years or a PhD with 10 years experience. That is a lot of manpower dedicated to the camera inside that iPhone and that iPad. In preparing this presentation, I have used my 10-year-old iPad and my 5-year-old iPad and my wife Sue's 4-year-old iPhone 11 and my brand new iPhone 14 Plus. This is because I know the residents of the Cascades own a variety of iPhones going back many, many years. So I've tried to incorporate both old and new iPhones in preparing this presentation. The iPhone/iPad camera has over 200 individual parts. Think about that. That's why they need 800 engineers to figure out how to make all of this stuff work together. It is a very sophisticated device lurking inside your iPhone. So that begs the question, what cameras are actually installed in your iPhone and your iPad? And the answer is, well, it depends upon which iPhone you have. Going back over 10 years, the iPhone 5 had an 8 megapixel camera on the back and a 1.2 megapixel camera on the front. That's the screen side. And as you see over the years, that was always the case. The camera on the back was always superior to the camera on the front. Until the year 2019, the iPhone 11, and finally the two cameras were comparable. They both could take 12 megapixel pictures, and that is true right up to today. The iPhone 14, which is the newest phone there is, has a 12 megapixel camera in the front and on the back. One of the reasons is because around 2019 and 2020, video conferencing started to come into vogue, and it became important to have a high quality camera on the front because people were doing things like Zoom, and we needed a good camera, and now we have one. By the way, the iPad Air has had a 12 megapixel camera ever since 2017. Now, the new iPhone 14 Pro has a ridiculously high 48 megapixel on the back, and you're looking at it, and a 12 megapixel camera on the front. It has a main camera, a telephoto camera, and an ultra-wide camera, and an infrared device, and this LED has 9 different lights in it so that when it takes a flash picture of your face, it decides exactly which of these lights to use so it doesn't wash out your face. It is obviously the most sophisticated camera ever installed in an iPhone. And in fact, it is so good that there is currently no TV that can display a 48 megapixel picture. The best 8K high definition TV the world currently can only display a 33 megapixel picture. So that iPhone 14 camera can take a picture you can't even see, even if you buy one of these. Here's a $3,000 8K high definition television, and that won't even show a 48 megapixel picture. By the way, your iPhone camera can take 16 million colors, but ironically, the human eye can only see 1 million colors. So your camera can take far, far, far better pictures than you and I can actually see. It's that good. By the way, what is all the fuss about how many megapixels your camera has? And all these camera and smartphone operators, they want to brag, oh, my camera has 12 megapixels, mine has 18, mine has 25 megapixels. Everybody is shouting megapixels. Well, here is the great camera myth. Megapixels are the measure of image quality. They would want you to think that the more megapixels you have, it is automatically a better picture. And that just isn't true, because the megapixels are only a measure of the image size, not a measure of the quality of the image. And let me show you what that means. Here is a picture taken at full resolution with 12 megapixels, and this is how much it could cover. Here is a 16 megapixel picture. Here's a 24, here's a 36, and here's a 50 megapixel. So megapixels tells me how big a photograph I can capture in high definition. Doesn't say anything about the quality. It speaks to the size of the image. Now, you need at least an 8 megapixel camera to shoot in today's state-of-the-art 4K high definition video. That's what everyone wants to get to. They want to shoot 4K. That is the best we can do now and show it on our televisions, shooting in 4K. The current smartphone industry standard for high definition photography and video is currently 12 megapixels. That's what you need to really be state-of-the-art, 12 megapixels. Now, in all of my presentations over the last 7 years, I have used my little $350 Epson projector in my presentations, and I can project 2 million pixels up on the screen, and they look really nice. But here's a picture I took of my favorite lake up in the Canadian Rockies. This is Morrie Lake, and my daughter and I have canoed this lake many, many times. If you were in the ballroom right now, I would be projecting this picture up on the screen with 2 million pixels. I need 10 million more pixels to really show you this iPhone picture in its full glory. As nice as it looks, it still ain't good enough to project. My projector just can't do it. It can't show the true glory of this photograph. Now, my brand new iPhone 14 Plus can only display 2.7 megapixels on the screen. I can take 12 megapixel pictures, but I can only see 2.7. The new $1,400 iPhone 14 Pro Max can only display 3.6 megapixels. Its camera can take 48 megapixels, but we can only see 3 megapixels. So our iPhone cameras are capable of taking photographs we will never be able to fully see. I need a projector like these to properly show a 12 million pixel photo taken on my iPhone 14. So I need to convince my wife, Sue, to let me go out and buy this $6,000 projector. Instead of my little $350, I'd have to spend $6,000. Or here's a nice Sony for $5,500. That's what I would have to invest in to try to begin to project up on the screen what my camera is capable of doing. A 12 megapixel iPhone camera can shoot in 4K high definition video. Now, to properly show one of those videos at its full resolutions, you would need to buy a 4K HD TV like one of these. So you're going to have to go into Amazon and spend close to $2,000 to get a television that can show the video you shot on my iPhone. Or you could go out and buy an $800 monitor, and this is just a little 31-inch monitor, and plug your iPhone into that, and then you could show 4K high definition video that you shot on my camera. Here's my point. Your iPhone and your iPad can shoot outstanding photos and videos that most people can't even see because they don't have 4K high-definition TVs or high-definition monitors, and they certainly don't have $5,000 projectors capable of displaying those videos that you shoot on your iPhone. What if you want to print out a picture? Suppose I want to print out a picture. Here's another Canadian lake, Lake Louise, my second favorite lake. A 12 megapixel iPhone photo can be printed at 16 inches by 20 inches with full high definition quality. Most of us aren't going to spend the money to print a picture this big, but you could if you wanted to. So let's go talk about what's on the controls of our cameras in our iPads and iPhones. And I'm going to start with the oldest one I have. Here's my 10-year-old iPad camera. So I've opened up the photo and we're looking at the controls. Over here on the left, this is the zoom, and with my finger I can zoom in and out on the lens. Up here is HDR, high definition resolution, and I'll talk all about that in just a moment. Here, and you turn it on and off with this button. This button operates the 3 or 10 second timer. So you can click this, call up 10 seconds, click the shutter, and you have 10 seconds to run around and get in front of the camera. This selects either the front or the rear camera. This obviously is the shutter. And these are the different types of pictures you can shoot. You can do a time-lapse video. You can just shoot straight video. You can take a photo. You can take a photo that is square. What's that all about? Well, it turns out years ago when Instagram first became famous and popular, Instagram only accepted square pictures. So everybody in the world was taking their pictures, and then they had to go through a bunch of rigmarole to make them square so they could put them on Instagram. Well, Apple and those 800 engineers figured out how to take pictures that are square from the get-go so you can put them right up into Instagram. And then there is panorama. I'm going to demonstrate that shortly. So that's what the old original iPad and our older iPhones, that's what they could do. Let's go forward 5 years. Here is my 5-year-old iPad, and it does everything the old one did, plus 2 new things. First of all, it has something called live photo, and I'll explain and demonstrate that in just a moment. And it also has a flash. And in the video department, they added slow motion video was added to all of the other types of photos and videos that you could take. So those were the improvements in our newer iPads and our newer iPhones. So what is the HDR setting? Well, it stands for High Dynamic Range. I don't know about you, but when I saw that, that meant absolutely nothing to me. I have no idea what that means, and you probably don't either. Let me show you what it means. Here's someone standing on a hillside looking at a lake with some hills in the background. Now here's the deal. When this person with his iPhone snapped a picture, what his iPhone secretly did was it actually took 3 different pictures very rapidly. You don't even hear it. You don't know it's happening. One picture is overexposed. This picture was overexposed. And so here we see some bushes on the hillside right in front of the cameraman. And it's catching the last light. But these hills are poorly defined, and the lake is just kind of a white blob. In this picture, it is underdeveloped. We can't see the hillsides at all, but we can see the lake, and we can see the fact that there are some clouds reflected in the lake. In this picture, also underexposed, everything's blacked out except we now see the sky. We see the blue sky, and we see these wispy cirrus clouds. So when you take a picture, my iPhone camera actually takes 3 pictures, and it underexposes and overexposes the different pictures. Then being the smart camera that it is, it takes these three pictures, puts them together, and voila, this is what you end up with. A beautiful picture. I can see all the objects lit on the hillside in front of me. I can see the lake clearly. I can actually see the town, and I can see the blue sky and the setting sunset. So it takes these three under and overexposed pictures. It's smart enough to figure out how to combine them and get this. So this is why you want to turn on HDR, because it makes your camera really, really smart, and you end up with pictures far better than you normally would have been able to achieve. You would have had to have figured out all of the f-stops and the exposures yourself if this camera didn't have HDR built into it. So fortunately, the camera is really smart, and you and I don't have to be techies to take good pictures. Now, what is this live photo business? You'll see it when it's turned on. To turn it on, it's this little symbol of these little circles, and you tap it, and on your screen you will see the word live. So what is a live photo? You're going to love this. This is really clever. Your camera records and attaches 1.5 seconds of video before you snap a picture, and 1.5 seconds of video after you snap a photo. So you're sitting there and you press the shutter and it takes a picture. What it has secretly done is recorded 1.5 seconds of video before and after you actually pressed the shutter. Why would you use live video? I'm going to give you several reasons. Here's the first one. You ever take a picture of someone and then the next day you realize, oops, their eyes were closed? Because people often blink when you take their pictures. That's one reason to take a live photo. Here's a classic. You want to get that perfect action shot. I mean, what are the chances that if you're a photographer with your iPhone that you can snap this picture perfectly timed just when this receiver is grabbing the ball? Or how good do you think you have to be able to snap the picture right at this very moment when the guy's suspended in the air? Or here's Tiger Woods. How difficult do you think it is to snap this picture at the very moment when the sand is flying up out of the sand trap and we can see the particles? And get this, here's the golf ball. This thing is so perfectly timed, we see the golf ball. I mean, how difficult do you think it is to snap that picture? Right, hard. So people, children, pets often move or turn right when you snap a picture. This is what a live photo looks like after you've taken it and you click on it. You get to see those 1.5 seconds of motion that you recorded before and after. And now I'm going to show you what you can do with that. So if I open up a live photo, I'm going to be able to open up and look at all of that video that was recorded and before and after. So this is what I've done. I've opened up a live photo of my little dog Lulu, and I've made a video of it, and let's watch it now. Here we are in our photos, and I have taken a live photo of Lulu on the couch, and I'll open up that picture now. Ready? Tap. Now in the upper right-hand corner, I'm going to tap the Edit button. Ready? Tap. Now on the bottom of the screen, just to the right of the word Cancel, is the Live Photo button, and I'm going to tap that. Ready? Tap. So now I see with my finger, I can scroll through all 45 of the pictures that were taken with live photo. This is the picture I snapped in the middle. but I can take my finger and drag the frame back and forth to find the perfect. Oh, I like this. Look, her little ears are pointing at me. I could make that the picture. Or let me see what's on the other side. What else is she doing? Oh, her eyes are closed there. I don't want that. You know, I kind of like the little picture where her ears are turned and she's looking at me right there. Now all I do is I reach out and I tap the word Make Key Photo, and that becomes my new picture. Ready? Tap. So that's how you open up a live photo, and with your finger I can scroll back and forth to find the perfect picture that I want to capture. Okay, so that's live photo. Fantastic tool. An iPhone live photo will give you 45 pictures to scroll through and choose the exact picture you want. For example, can you imagine how difficult it is to snap the camera and capture all 4 of these fireworks? But with live photos, I have 3 seconds of video and I can scroll through 45 different pictures, different frames, and find the exact fraction of a second when all of the fireworks are displayed. You have 45 pictures that you can select. So how many pictures do you need to take of a group of people to be sure you have at least one picture with everybody's eyes open? This is what professional photographers would do. And the answer is you divide the total number of people by 3, and that's how many pictures you need to take. So example, if there are 9 people in the group, you need to take at least 3 pictures. If it's a 30-person group, you need to take 10 pictures to be sure when you get home, you have at least one picture with everybody's eyes open. That's the thumb rule professional photographers use. So, how can you take 10 pictures of a group of 30 people quickly? Well, one thing you've already seen is you could take a live photo. And I do this when I take pictures of the chorus. I take a live photo. That way, I've got 45 pictures to look at. Here's the other way. You can shoot a burst of photos by holding down the shutter on your older iPhones. On the newer iPhones, from the iPhone 10 or newer, what you do is you press the shutter and you pull it to the left or down, depending upon how is your phone being held. And it will start firing automatically. And you can hear it. It goes, and you see a little counter showing you how many pictures you've taken. So you can whip off 10 or 15 photographs in 1.5 seconds. Just shoot a burst and then you can go back and look at them and choose the one you like. Or shoot a live photo and that'll give you 45 to look at. So let's look at the controls on a modern iPhone. This is my iPhone 14. So what I've done is I've taken a screenshot of the screen of my phone. Let's go through it. So when you open it up, down here you already know, most of you, that you take your finger and you slide to select, are you taking photos or portraits or panos or videos? And I'll explain what this cinematic is in just a little minute. So the first thing you need to do is you need to tap up here where this little up arrow is. When you tap that, watch what happens here. Ready? Tap. When you tap this, you open up all of your photo controls, your photo editing. And let me take you through those. First of all, this is how you turn on or turn off the flash. Now, you may turn on the flash, but your camera is smart enough to know whether it needs it or not. So just because it's turned on doesn't mean your camera is going to flash. It will flash if it's needed. Over here, this is the live photo. So you reach out with your finger and you just tap this and it goes on and off, and you'll see the word live letting you know you've turned on live photos. So you're going to capture that 3 seconds of video when you snap a still picture. This is something called 5 custom settings. More about that in a moment. This is something called the screen aspect. I'll tell you what you need to do in a second. This is something called the exposures. Remember the under and over? You can go in and control all of that yourself. This is that 3 or 10 second timer. So you click this and then you select either 3 or 10 and you press this, and it now takes either 3 or 10 seconds for the picture to take. It gives you time to run around and get back in the picture. This is something called photographic styles. Now, here's the good news. You can ignore custom settings. You can ignore exposure, and you can ignore the 10 photographic styles. Why? Because you can do all of this stuff after you take the picture. So go ahead, snap the picture, and when you get home and you're looking at the picture, then you can go in and make all of these settings. So my friends, don't waste your time going through all of these settings while you're taking the picture. You can do that later if you need to. And your camera is so darn smart, you may not need to. So I've just eliminated 75% of the complexity of taking a picture. Just shoot the picture. We'll look at it later and decide if we want to tinker with it. So what screen aspect ratio should I use? It's this simple. If you're shooting photographs, select 4:3. If you're shooting video, select 16:9. That's it. That's all you need to know. 4:3, or the way I remember it, the little number for photos, the big number for videos. And this all has to do with, the height and the width ratio for different kinds of displays or screens. That's it. Set one of those two and you'll be good to go. So what is cinematic? And by the way, this is only on the 2 newest iPhones, the iPhone 13 and the iPhone 14. So for those of you that don't have one of those 2 phones, by the time you go out a few years from now and buy a new phone, I'm pretty sure your phones are going to have cinematic built into it. Only the 13 and the iPhone 14 have it currently, all right? But this is what it is. So you select this. Instead of video, I select cinematic. This is another way of shooting video, and I'm going to show you what it does. Cinematic is used for dramatic Hollywood-grade videos. And once again, only the iPhone 13 and the iPhone 14 have cinematic. I'm about to show you a video shot on an iPhone 13 using cinematic. And what it does is it shifts the focus back and forth. When the camera points at something close, the focus shifts to that. When the camera swings around to something far away, the focus shifts to the object in the distance. So your camera is smart enough to shift the focus back and forth from something close to something far away. And this focuses the viewer's attention. So here we go. This is a whodunit, a British mystery. Whodunit. Shot on a 13. So this is a close-up. This picture has been stolen. Focus on the detective. Switch to the people. Switch to the girl in red. Switch back to the guy sitting next to you. See, the focus is shifting. Shift to the wall. Shift back to the detective. Shift to the kid. Things in the background are fuzzy. Shift to the cup. Shift to the fingers. Shift to the fingers. Shift to the button. Shift to the butler in the distance. Uh-oh, the butler did it. We knew it. shift to the kid who stole the picture. And that is cinematic. Your camera is smart enough to automatically shift the focus, and when it shifts, it blurs things behind it. By the way, there have now been 12 Hollywood movies shot entirely on an iPhone. The iPhones are that good today. 12. Time-lapse video. Most people see it and have never shot one, so let me show you what it's all about. So you move over and select time-lapse. Time-lapse, here's the deal. Every time-lapse video always ends up running somewhere between 20 and 40 seconds. It doesn't matter how long you shoot it. You could set up your camera and shoot for 3 hours or 6 hours or 9 hours. You're going to end up with a video that runs between 20 and 40 seconds. And your camera figures this out on its own. So if you take a time lapse of 10 minutes, it's going to go in and grab a picture, a frame, every second. If you shoot for an hour, it's going to grab a picture every 4 seconds. So it looks at how long the camera's been running, and then it goes back and decides, how often do I grab a picture, so that you end up with a video that runs 20 to 40 seconds. You have no control over this. You have no control over this. All you do is start it and stop it, and it figures out the rest. I have gone in now and I have grabbed several time-lapse videos, all shot on iPhones, and I put them together and added my own music. This is Morrie playing Pachelbel's Canon. So here we go. Here's what time-lapse can do. Okay, time-lapse. Have fun with that. So how long of a time-lapse video can you shoot? The answer is you can just keep shooting and shooting continuously until your battery dies at the end of the day. Portrait photo settings. So you take your finger and you slide over to portrait. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some pictures I shot of my wife Sue out on our lanai using portrait. I think that'll explain it better than words I can use. So this was introduced in 2016 on the iPhone 7 Plus. And there are 6 different settings, and I'm going to show you pictures I shot of Sue using all 6. Here we go. So this is the setting called natural light, and the name tells you exactly what it is. Nothing going on here. This is just shooting a photograph of Sue. Here is a photograph using studio light, and let me bounce back and forth. Natural light, studio light, natural light, studio. It's a little brighter. It's as though I have turned on a light. Let's back up again. Natural light, studio light. So studio light introduces a light, like you've turned a light on to somebody. Let's go on. Here is contour light. This is much darker, and I can see the contours of the person. I'm not that fond of it, but there are places that you might want to use that. Then it gets dramatic. This is stage light. I mean, look at this thing. It suddenly has wiped out the background. All you do is select stage light and take the picture. That's it. It just eliminates everything behind the person that you're taking. That's stage light. Here is stage light mono. And obviously this is black and white. So not only has the background been eliminated, but so has all of the color. And here is high key light mono. The background's been wiped out, and Sue is now standing against a white background, and she is in black and white. So those are the different settings in portrait mode. Have fun with that. Your camera will automatically focus on faces. And notice it doesn't matter if it's a human or an animal. The camera says, oh, I know what that is, and oh, I know what this is, and it puts a little yellow box just to let you know that the camera has found a face. The camera is smart enough to know that if you're taking a picture of a human, you probably are most interested in the face. So by default, your camera is going to seek out human faces, or puppy dog faces as in this case, and it will focus on the faces automatically unless you tell it different. And you can shift the focus by just reaching out with your finger and tapping anywhere on your iPhone screen, and the focus will shift. But by default, it goes to the faces. Here's Sue on our European river cruise somewhere in Germany several years ago. This is the boat captain. And notice once again, the camera has automatically detected 4 human faces, and it's focusing on the face. Okay? Does it automatically. So as I said, you can touch the screen to shift the focus to that spot. And you can also take your finger, see this little sunbeam? You can take your finger and just move up and down, and it will change the brightness of the photograph. So tap where you want the camera to focus on, and then with your finger you can lighten or darken the exposure before you snap the picture. What is the pano setting on the camera? Pano is short for panorama. Here are 2 examples of a panorama shot. Normally when you and I take a picture, it covers about 45 degrees. A panorama shot covers an entire 180 degrees. In reality, it's a number of pictures all stitched seamlessly together to create one photograph. And they can be horizontal or vertical. Here's an example of a vertical panorama. This happens to be a church I've been to several times in Barcelona, Spain, the Church of the Sacred Family. It's been under construction over 100 years, and it's still not done. Anyway, you go vertically. Here are some other shots of vertical panoramas. So what I want to do is I have made a video showing how to shoot a panorama. Let's watch. So let's talk about taking a pano. Pano stands for panorama. When you and I normally take a picture with our iPhone, we are covering about a 45-degree arc. But in a panorama, I take an entire 180-degree picture. Now, we're not taking a video. We're taking dozens and dozens of pictures, and the camera stitches them all together and produces one picture that covers 180 degrees. There are 2 ways to shoot a panorama, horizontally and vertically. So let's talk about horizontal, because most of us, that's what we're going to shoot. When you want to shoot a horizontal pano, You will hold the camera in the vertical position, and we're going to move it like this. If you want to shoot something very tall, a vertical panorama, then you would rotate the camera horizontally. And now we would be doing this motion. In this video, I'm going to talk about how to shoot a horizontal panel because that's what most of us want to do. We go somewhere and there's a beautiful scenery and we want to capture it all. Here's the challenge. While we are moving our camera through the 180 degrees, it is absolutely critical that that camera not move up and down. It's important that the camera not tip back and forth like this. And it's important that we don't wiggle it like this. So the challenge is I have to turn myself into a tripod to keep this camera moving absolutely level without twisting it and going up and down. Here's the way a professional would do that. What I'm going to do is hold the camera with two hands, and I'm going to lock my elbows against my body. That prevents the camera from going up and down. It also prevents me from doing this or doing this. I'm now locked in. I have become a tripod, and now all I have to do is pivot my body and the camera will be perfectly horizontal. This is what it looks like in reality. So I start, let's say, looking out my windows here, and I'm going to move 180 degrees. Ready? Here we go. Elbows locked. I'm rotating. I'm done. Now, it doesn't matter how fast you go. You can go real slow if you want, or you can go pretty fast, like this. That's up to you. You're probably going to shoot one or two of them, or two or three, to make sure that you've got a good one. So the important thing is keep this camera level. Don't let it twist in your hands. And when you're done, you can look at the picture instantly. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to shoot a pano, and as I'm shooting it, I am recording the screen of this iPhone. And then I will show you the movie of what my screen actually looks like while I'm shooting the pano. So you're watching me, but then you're going to see what's on the screen. So, ready? Here we go. Click. And done. So I've shot a pano, and now what I'll do is I will let you look at my screen so you can see what does it look like on the screen while you're shooting the pano. There's an arrow on the screen, and there's a line, and what you have to do is you have to keep this arrow right on this line. So your screen is showing you if you're tilting and going up and down by watching the little arrow on the screen. And you'll see that when you watch the video of my screen. And where does the pano end up? It is always stored in your Photos app. And it has a funny little white logo on it that identifies it as a panorama. So you can always spot your pano pictures if you're looking at all of your photographs. So that's how to shoot a pano. Many of us may go through life and never ever have an occasion to shoot one, but at least you know what is it and how do I shoot a pano. Okay, that's it. That's how to shoot a panorama. And as I said before, you see this little arrow and this line. And the name of the game is keep this arrow right on this line. If you do that, you're guaranteed that your picture will be perfect. If you move up and down, what will happen is your picture will look wavy. It'll look distorted, and you'll have to shoot it over. By the way, here is the final panorama. Now, quite frankly, it's kind of dark. I would then go in and I would use the editing tools and I would lighten up the scene. And here's what a panorama looks like out on my patio. And once again, you're shooting an entire 180-degree arc. Rule of thirds. This talks about how professionals shoot photographs and videos. They use something called the rule of thirds. And what you want to do is you want to put the subject not dead center in the middle, but somewhere on one of these 1/3 lines. And I'll talk about turning on the grid in just a moment. So don't put the object that you're focusing on dead center. It should be lined up on one of these 1/3 lines. And in Hollywood and on TV, I guarantee all of the movies you've ever seen, they are using this rule of 1/3 to compose the pictures. It's also a good way to determine where should the person's eyes be if I'm taking a photograph. And the answer is somewhere near the upper 1/3 line. And what I've done here is I've turned on the grid, which I'll talk about in just a moment. So the 1/3 rule of thirds, is a good way to compose a picture for a photograph or a video. What do you call a photograph where the subject is right in the middle of the picture? Like this. This is called a mugshot. Don't shoot mugshots. To help you, you can turn on this grid right on the screen of your camera, and this applies to both photographs and videos. So go into Settings, select Camera, go into Grid, and turn it on. I never turn off the grid. I always want it because it's going to help me determine how to keep the camera level, if nothing else. Here are 4 ways to press the shutter on an iPhone camera, because sometimes it's not convenient to press the shutter with your finger. So here are 4 other ways to do that. First of all, if you're shooting horizontal like this, and you should shoot this way for a video, you can use the volume up button right here. Press that and that will click the shutter. This is very handy when you're shooting in the horizontal position. The volume up button becomes your shutter. You can plug in your headphones, and the little volume control on your headphone cable also acts as a shutter release. This is nice because you're not shoving and tapping on the camera to press the shutter, which sometimes jar it and wiggle it. So this is another method a lot of people like to use. Just plug in your headphones, grab the little volume control here, and use that. If you own an Apple Watch, as Sue and I do, there is an app. It came with my phone. It is the camera remote. And on my Apple Watch, I can see exactly what is on my camera screen. And with a little button here, I can press the shutter of my camera, even though I might be 5, 10, 15, 20 feet away from it at the time. I use this all the time, and I'll show you an example of where I use it in just a moment. So the Apple Watch app. Here's how I use it. This is me and the chorus. And so what I do is I set up my camera on a tripod, and using my Apple Watch, I click the shutter as I'm sitting there. So what I really do is I set it up to take a 3 or 10-second shot. That gives me 3 seconds to click the button on my watch and then lower my hand to a natural position. So I always use this. And by the way, I always shoot live photos, and I'll shoot 3 of these. And remember, a live photo gives me 45 pictures. So when I take a photo of the chorus, I have 3 times 45. I've got a lot of pictures, and then I can go through and zoom in, and I can look and make sure everybody's eyes are open, because I have lots and lots of pictures to choose from. But I snap the picture using my Apple Watch. Or you can go over to Walmart, and for $6 you can buy a Walmart Bluetooth iPhone camera remote control. $6. And it couldn't be simpler. You press this button and you press the shutter. So you could set your camera up on a tripod, and you can be 30 feet away from this thing. That's the range of Bluetooth. 30 feet away and still click the shutter on your camera. So let's talk about, I've taken my pictures. How can I share them with my friends and family or the world? I can send a picture to someone or a group of people in a text message. I can email my pictures. I can set up a shared album in iCloud, and then I can invite people into that album, and they can not only look at my pictures, but they can click and download my pictures into their iPhones or iPads or their computers, or dare I say it, their Android phones. I can, of course, put them up on Facebook, as my daughter and my grandchildren do all the time. I can invite you over to my house and show you my pictures up on my big 75-inch TV in my family room using AirPlay to broadcast them onto the screen. If you and I are sitting together or in a room, if we're within 30 feet of each other, I can Airdrop, wirelessly send any of my photographs or videos directly from my iPhone right into your iPhone or your iPad. We don't even need a wireless. We could be on a boat 50 miles out in the Gulf of Mexico where there is no internet and there is no wireless, because this uses Bluetooth from phone to phone. Or I could, of course, print it out and hand you a printed copy, or I could put it into a printed book, and I'll show you 2 ways to do that in just a moment. So these are the main ways that I share my photographs with family and friends. And to launch it all, after I've opened up the photograph in Photos, down here in the lower left-hand corner is this little square box with an arrow. When you click that, you open up all these different ways of sharing a photo. And I'll be showing this to you in just a moment. So I can AirDrop it, I can send it as a text, send it as a mail, I can send it AirPlay from my phone to your phone, or I can print it out, put it in a shared. All of these options pop up when I press that little symbol. Now, in my notes, I will give you the URL of this web page, and this explains how to go in and set up a shared album. This is on the internet, and then you can email this to people, and they can log in and they can see your pictures. They can download your pictures. You can even set it up so that they can add pictures to your album. Here's another way of doing it. If you don't like to read, I'll also send you this YouTube that explains how to share photos using iCloud, photo sharing. And this is a woman in her 60s, just like us, that steps you through step by step how to share your photos using iCloud sharing. Okay? By the way, you can store up to 5,000 photos or videos in a shared iCloud album, And storing those pictures do not count against the 5 megabytes of iCloud storage that Apple gave you when you bought your iPhone or your iPad. So 5,000 pictures you can store for nothing, and it doesn't count against the 5 megabytes that Apple gave you. That's a big reason to set up a shared album. It's zero cost storage online of your pictures and videos. Or you could send a photo as an actual postcard with a little app called TouchNotes. So what you do is you go in and you choose a picture, and you can format and design the postcard, and they will mail it to you in the mail. They'll print it out and mail you. And it costs $3 or $4 to get one of these. And so then I can address this postcard and send it through the U.S. mail. You can print a photo book, and there is an app called Shutterfly. Oh, I wanted to mention TouchNotes. This is an app. You can go onto the Apple App Store and download this. It's free. The app doesn't cost you anything. To print out a book, go into the app called Shutterfly. By the way, Costco uses Shutterfly to print their books as well. This is a well-respected, and you get beautiful books. And Sue and I used this method to print out a book of our wedding a few years ago. Or you can have your iPhone pictures printed and framed with this app, Keepsake. You may have seen their ads on TV in the last year. So you pick a picture and you go through and you decide how big you want it to be, and there's over 100 different frames, and so they print your picture, mount it in the frame, and mail it to you. So you end up with a really beautiful professional photograph that you can hang on your wall. Keepsake. So where can you store your iPhone photos and videos for free? Now, there's all kinds of places that you can pay to store things online. I'm going to ignore all of those and just talk about the freebies. Well, obviously, you can store them on your iPhone. But at some point in your life, if you start shooting 7, 8, 9,000 photographs and videos, I guarantee your phone will run out of space eventually. But that's where everybody stores them initially. You can store them in the iCloud. Apple gives you 5 gigabytes of online storage called the iCloud storage, and you can put your pictures up there until you run out of space on the 5 gigabytes. You can set up an iCloud shared album, and you can stick 5,000 pictures and or videos up in that shared album. This costs you nothing, and these pictures do not count against your 5 gigabytes in your iCloud. Totally separate. This is a really good deal, folks. You can do what I do. You can download Google Photos, and Google gave me 15 gigabytes to store my photos and videos. So I have it set up so that every picture I take with my phone, every video I shoot with my phone is instantly and automatically loaded up into Google Photos. So what I could do is I could delete the pictures on my phone or delete the videos, knowing that they are safely tucked away in Google Photos. And I can go into Google Photos at any time and with a touch of my finger, download the videos or photos back into my phones. This is my backup. This is where all of my pictures are. And I currently have over 9,000 photos I've got sitting in Google Photos. Or you could use a USB thumb drive. And I'll show you how to do that in just a moment. This is a good solution. You can store any and all of your pictures out on thumb drives, and all you have to do is, I mean, these things are cheap. For $5, I can buy a USB thumb drive. In fact, this is how it works. So Here's my thumb drive, and you have to go out and buy this little gizmo because your iPhone does not have a USB connector. So go to the Apple Store or go to the online Apple Store and buy the Apple Lightning to USB 3 camera adapter. That plugs into your phone. Then you plug your thumb drive into it. And by the way, you also need to provide power. So this is the power cable. This is the cable I use to plug in my iPhone at night. You need to plug this power cable in because this device needs power to be able to pull the pictures into the iPhone, or the other way around, to take the pictures here and save them out into the thumb drive. It needs to be plugged in. So this is about a $30, $35 device. This is how you plug in a thumb drive and you can store any and all of your pictures out here. Of course, once they're out here, you can delete them from here if you're running out of room on your phone. This is a nice solution. Let's talk about editing a photo on an iPad. Remember when I was showing you the controls on my camera and I said you can ignore this and that and that? Well, now I'm going to show you how you can come in after the fact, after you've stored the photo in the Photos app, and edit it. So I've done a little video, and I did it on my iPad just because it's a little bit bigger, but it works absolutely the same on my iPhone. Here we go. Here we are in Photos on my iPad, and I'm going to go through the settings to edit a picture. I'm going to choose this picture. This is a picture I took of the botanical garden back in St. Louis when I used to live there. So in the upper right-hand corner, you see the word Edit, and I'm going to tap that now. Ready? Tap. And now along the right-hand side, I have all of the edit controls. The first one is Auto, and I'm tapping it on and off. And what it does is it automatically goes in and changes 4 or 5 settings automatically to try to make the picture look better. This is on, this is off, on, off. My experience is that Auto typically lightens up the picture. All right, let's go to the next setting. This is Exposure. Exposure allows you to adjust the amount of light in your photo, making it darker or lighter. And with my finger on the right-hand edge, I can scroll this up and down and change the exposure. Okay, and I'm going to put it back where I left it. Next is Brilliance. Brilliance alters the brightness of an image a little more dramatically than exposure. And here I'm with my finger sliding the brilliance up and down, and you can see that it does change the brightness of the picture. I'll put it back where it was. Next is Highlights. Highlights allows you to increase or decrease the brightness of only the lightest parts of the image without affecting the darker tones. And here's what it looks like. This is low, this is high, and I'm only affecting the bright parts of the picture. So I'll put it back where it was, 0, or close enough. Next is Shadows. Shadow works in a similar way and will adjust the brightness of the darkest parts of the image without affecting the highlights or the midtones. So now all I'm doing is I'm working on the dark shadows to make them darker or lighter. Okay? Next is Contrast. Contrast will increase or decrease the difference in tone of the highlights and the shadows. And this is what it looks like. You can absolutely ruin your picture by putting too much contrast in it. And I'll try to put it back where I got it. Close enough. Next is brightness. Brightness adjusts how light or how dark an image is, and it's similar to exposure. Here I'm going from very dark to very light. Okay. And I'm going to get rid of all my changes. I've screwed it up so badly here. So let's see, where am I? This is brightness. Black point. Black point determines the darkest shade in the image, and it increases it to make all the deep shadows of the image completely black. So now I'm adjusting the black point, making the blacks and the darks blacker. Okay, and I'll try to put it back where I left it. Next is saturation. Saturation allows you to increase or decrease the color intensity. Here I've taken it all out and I end up with a black and white picture. Here I'm really cranking it up. This is probably too much saturation. So the intensity of the color, this is lots of saturation. This is taking the color out. And I'll put it back to 0 or close to it here. Okay, next is vibrance. Vibrance is very similar, but tends to brighten the colors more realistically and less intensely than saturation. So this is 0 or little vibrance, and this is cranking it up. So I'm controlling the amount of color in the photograph. And I'll try and put it back in the middle or thereabouts. Next is warmth. Warmth lets you push the colors in an image towards the warmer end of the spectrum, which is the yellows and the oranges, or the colder end, which is the blues. So here I'm cranking up lots of yellows and oranges. It's very warm. Looks like a bright summer day. And here I'll crank up the blues. Much colder looking image. And that's the purpose. Do you want it to look warm or do you want it to have a cold look? So that's warmth. Next is tint. Tint lets you shift the color balance in your image towards a purple or green hue, which is often used to convert skin tones. I don't have any people in the picture, but most of the time when I use this, I'm looking at a portrait of a person, and you can change the tint in their skin. Okay, that's where it's most commonly used. Next is sharpness. Sharpness will help you when you have a blurry image. It's not going to do anything in this picture because this was taken with an iPhone. It wasn't fuzzy. So quite frankly, there's really nothing to sharpen. It's a very sharp picture to begin with. Next is definition. Definition sharpens the edges of the picture. But once again, this was an excellent picture taken with an iPhone, so I don't have to worry about definition. Next is noise reduction. And what that does is it takes away the fuzzy, grainy texture that you often see in old photographs. I normally use this when I scan in an old photo that was taken back in the 50s or 60s, and it's kind of fuzzy. You can come in here and get the fuzziness out of those old photos that you've scanned in. And last is vignette. Vignette lets you darken or lighten the frame surrounding your picture. Darkening the frame can add an antique feel to a photograph. So watch. Here I'm going to crank it in and see how the edges and the corners get dark. That looks like an old-time photograph. So I'm just controlling the edges. Here I'm cranking it in, and here I'll take it out. Vignette. Make it look like it was taken with an old one. I'm going to reach up and do cancel to get rid of all of the changes. And I'll go back into edit once again. And over on the left, you see a button in the middle. And when I tap on it, on the right-hand side, I have a series of options. This is what the original picture looks like. But now with my finger, I'm going to move that up. This is vivid. This is vivid warm. This is vivid cool. This is dramatic. This is dramatic warm. Dramatic cool. This is mono. All the color has been stripped out. This is Silvertone, an old 1930s, 1940s look. And this is Noir. I don't even know how to define what Noir is. So I can simply dial in this effect that I want, and I'll go back to original. The last thing that you can do is you can crop this. So once again, on the left-hand edge of the picture, you see that funny little, looks like a square with little arrows around it. That's the crop tool, and I'm going to tap that now. Ready? Tap. And when I do, these little handles show up, little white handles on the edge of the picture, and I can grab those with my finger, and I can crop this picture. What I'm doing is I'm determining where the edge of the picture really is. Let's say that flower bed, the yellow flowers in the back, I want that to be my feature, so I'm going to do this. And now I'll cancel that. And now let's say that, I don't know, what I want to focus on are those white flowers right in the foreground there. So I'll bring in the right edge, and I'll bring in the top, and now, voila, I focused on the white flowers. So that's the crop tool. All right, so that's a quick review of all of the editing. And that's why I said you don't really have to mess with any of this stuff when you're taking the picture, because as you've just seen, you can come in after the fact, look at your picture, and do all of this editing to it after you've taken it. You don't have to worry about this while you're taking the picture. In editing a photo on an iPhone, you have exactly the same photo editing tools that you have on the iPad. They're just located across the bottom instead of across the side, but you can do everything the same. Here's just a couple of examples. Here's the original picture, and this is after you've edited. Here's the sand before, and now you can see the beach in its full glory. So when you take a photo or take a video, your photo and video are automatically stored in your Photos app. And how are they organized? They are organized, first of all, by year. This is looking at my iPhone. So you can go in and search for your photos by the year. Next is the years are broken down into the months. So you can touch this and select a certain month. Or you can break the months down into days. So I choose 2019 and I choose November, and then I can go in and look at the individual days within that. Or I can simply click all photos and I see all of my photos, and I can take my finger and just move up and down. So years, months, days, all photos. This is what it looks like on the iPhone. Same way on the iPad, it's just a little bigger. I can go in and simply click on this, so I can say, show me all the pictures in 2015. And then I can, here's the year 2010, and here is April. And I can dig deeper. I can dig down into the days. Obviously, this was Sue's birthday in 2016. Or I can ask to see all of the photos on my iPad. Works exactly the same on the phone and the iPad. Use the Google Photo app to store 15 gigabytes of your photos and videos online free. So just go into the App Store, download Google's, and you can set it up. As I say, I have it set up so that every single picture I take, every single video I shoot is automatically stored up into Google Photos. So that's my backup. And I have 15 gigabyte free. So if I delete the pictures on my iPhone, I can come into Google Photos and I can simply tap on one and tap on the upload. So with 2 taps of my finger, I can download a picture from Google Photos back into my iPhone or my iPad. Photo metadata. What's that? Here's a photograph I took when Sue and I were on our river cruise across Europe. This is the Hungarian Parliament. And you'll notice, apparently I'm standing in the middle of a river. And over here, this is the metadata. This says this is August 23rd of 2018, 1:30 in the afternoon, and it even tells me what time zone I'm in. It says you took this on an Apple 8 Plus, and here's all of the settings, the f-stops. The camera automatically set all of this, but at least it tells me what it did. It says this is a 12.2 megapixel photograph, and it's 4,000 pixels by 3,000 pixels, and etc., etc. It tells me this was shot in Budapest, Hungary. It knows where it was. And down here is a map. Let me zoom in on this. Here's a map saying this is where you were when you took that picture. And as you see, I'm in the middle of the river because I'm standing on the river, the deck of the riverboat that Sue and I used to cross our 2-week river tour across Europe. So this is what metadata is. It tells you all about what, when, where was this picture taken. I want to touch on shooting video 101. I know this isn't photography, but I just can't resist since I've got you listening. Here are Morrie's 5 simple video rules. Number 1, when you shoot a video, you put that camera in the horizontal position, and I'll show you why in just a moment. You should be shooting video horizontally, not vertically. You should turn on the iPhone screen grid. That way you can figure out, is my camera being held level or not, and also it allows you to use the rule of thirds. It's very important when you shoot video to keep your camera steady. Ideally, you should mount it on a tripod. That's the very best. The worst thing you can do is hold it in one hand 3 feet in front of you. How many times have you seen people out there bouncing the camera around, and you can make people nauseous with vertigo trying to watch that kind of a video. And you tap on the screen, you just tap out here to show your camera where you want to focus. Do you want to focus on the face, or do I want to focus on this plant? By tapping in the screen here, the camera automatically focuses on that spot. And don't zoom in and out. It just looks dumb. One of the true marks of a pure amateur is they just can't resist zooming in and out. Back in the old days when we used camcorders, the camcorders had zoom buttons. And when I did workshops on this, I taped over all of the zoom buttons. And I told my students, don't you dare touch that zoom button. It just screams amateur. So don't zoom in and out. People don't like it. So why should you shoot horizontally? I'm going to show you 2 videos. I stepped out on my patio and shot in the backyard. Here's the first one, and I'm holding the camera vertically. And I'll just pan to the right. Okay, nothing wrong with the picture. But I advise you to hold the camera horizontal. So I'm standing in the very same spot. I didn't do anything different except I rotated the camera and I end up with this. Whoops. Sorry. So when you rotate it, you get the full screen. And when you put this up on your TV to show your family all your vacation videos, you don't want that narrow little thing. When you hold it vertical, you only end up with 25% of the screen. When you flip it horizontal, you expand your video to 100% of whatever screen you're showing it on. That's why you want to shoot horizontally. It looks nice. Shoot short videos. Don't shoot just one long, boring video that goes on and on and on and on forever. After about 3 minutes, your audience will get bored with it, probably. It's better to shoot 5 short videos of 10, 15, 20 seconds each and splice them together after you look at them. Watch your backgrounds. This applies to taking photos and especially shooting videos. Here's a bad example. It looks like this light post is coming straight out of the guy's head. A lovely girl, but ruined by, need I say more? Oh, a very, very unfortunate. And you can imagine if this is a video, how embarrassing and awkward this video is going to be. Watch your background. If you're shooting indoors, you want to be sure you don't shoot against the windows because your camera may autofocus and set the exposure for the outside. This often happens. I've seen a lot of videos ruined by this. If you are shooting video indoors, you need to be sure you've got as good an amount of light as you can. And here you see the effect of good light versus bad light. I've seen hundreds of videos ruined because the lighting was poor where they shot. This is important. Turn the airplane mode on to prevent your phone calls and your text messages and your emails from interrupting your videos. You know, nothing is more frustrating. You're at a wedding. You're going to shoot a wedding of your granddaughter, and you've got your camera all set up, and you're 10 minutes into the wedding ceremony, and suddenly you get a phone call on your phone. It shuts off your camera so you can answer the phone. Disaster, because you can't go back and reshoot the wedding. Make sure that phone call and those text messages don't interrupt your camera shoot. How do I create a movie with my iPhone, iPad videos and photos? So I've shot all my little video clips. I've shot all of my pictures on my around the world vacation, and now I want to put them in a video. You have 2 major choices. Actually more, but these are free and these are from Apple. First is iMovie. This is the classic, and it's free, and you can download it into your iPhone, your iPad, or your Macintosh. And then there's the new one, Clips. This was created primarily for teenagers. They didn't want anything this fancy, but they wanted to be able to take their pictures and their clips and put together really cutesy little videos, Clips. Both of these are free. They are both from Apple. So this is my favorite, of course, is iMovie, and I've been using it and teaching it for years and years. It is the ultimate video editing software. You can use the still photos and the videos, pull them right out of your Photos apps. You can pull music from iTunes or write your own music, as I do in GarageBand, and pull that into your movie. It has built-in theme music, and it has 63 different sound effects that you can drop in. You can record audio directly in with the built-in mic. So you've shot your video and you've laid in some music. Now you can lay in a voiceover. So you don't have to worry about recording the audio as you're shooting. Do a voiceover afterwards. You can record video directly into iMovie. Just turn on the camera and it goes right into iMovie. And you can also access photos, music, and videos that you have stored up in the cloud. You have direct access to them inside iMovie. Clips. This is new. This has only been around a few years, and as I say, primarily for kids on Instagram and Facebook and those kinds of things. It's simpler. It can't do as much as iMovie, but you can learn how to use it in 10 minutes. So you can use all your photos and your videos. You can pull music in from iTunes, or it also has built-in soundtracks that you can select. You can record video directly into it with your camera. You can add live titles. So what it does is it actually takes the spoken word and turns it into written text on the screen. It's almost amazing that it can do that. Or you can add your own text and filters and your own emojis. The teenagers love to stick emojis on top of all of their videos. So that is Clips. It's free. It's from Apple. Let's go to the live photo camera. Now, if we had been in the ballroom, at this point I would have plugged my camera directly into my projector. But since we're not in the ballroom, I'm going to show you the videos I made. So this is how to send a photo or a video to someone using either email or a text message. And what I've done is I've recorded my screen. I made a video of my screen, and I'm going to play that for you. So here we go. In this video, I'm going to show you how to send a photograph or a video to someone using either email or a text message. So I'm recording the screen of my iPhone 14 for this. In the top left corner of the screen, you see the Photos app, and that's where I'm going to start. So I'm going to reach out now with my finger and tap Photos. Ready? Tap. Now we're inside the Photos app, and I can scroll around and look at all of my photos. I'm going to choose one of them right in the middle, a picture of my lanai and my patio. Tap. So here it is. Let's say now I want to email this picture to my wife, Sue. In the lower left-hand corner of the screen, you see a little square box with an arrow pointing up. That's what I'm going to touch. So I'm going to reach out and tap the box with the arrow. Ready? Tap. And now my screen looks like this. In the middle of the screen, I'll take my finger and move these. These are all of the different places or applications that I can use to do something with my picture. Also down below, I'm scrolling up and down. These are all of the other things that I can do with this picture. But for now, what I want to do is email this picture to Sue. So right in the middle of the screen, right below the picture, you see the little white envelope on the blue background, and it's labeled Mail. That's what I want to select to email this picture to someone. So I'm going to reach out and tap Mail right now. Ready? Tap. What it's done is it's taken the photograph and it has formatted it, opened up my mail system, and automatically inserted the photograph into my email system. And now what it wants to know is, who do you want to send this to, and what subject do you want to put on this photograph? So I'm going to start by clicking on subject, and I'll type in our patio. That's the name, the subject I want to put on this picture. And now I have to tell my iPhone, who do you want to send this to? So the top line is the to, and I'm going to reach out and tap there. Ready, tap. And now it's waiting for me to tap in the email address or the name of the person I want to mail this to. So I'm going to type in Sue Reese, S-U-E space R-E-E-C-E. And it's going to look at that and look through all of my contacts and everything until it identifies, there they are. It's the top one that I want. That's Sue's email address. So with my finger, I'm just going to tap on Sue Reese. Ready? Tap. And now I'm just about ready. So I've addressed the email. I've typed in the subject name. I've selected the photograph. It's time to mail it. In the upper right-hand corner, you see the little blue circle with the white arrow. That's how I tap to send this email. But watch what happens when I tap it. Ready? Tap. It says, wait a minute, Morrie, you can send this picture under 4 different sizes: small, medium, large, and actual size. Some of you won't remember this, but some of us do. In the old days, years ago, we used to communicate over telephone lines. We had modems that we would dial up, and those telephone lines were very, very slow. It could take 5 minutes just to send one picture to somebody. So back then, we cared a lot about how big the files were of things we were going to send. So the email system says, you know what, you can reduce this. You can make it a small file or a medium or large, or if you have a nice, big, fast network, and you and I do, you can send this photo under its actual size, which is 4.8 megabytes. That's as big as it gets. So all I have to do is tap on one of those 4 sizes, and it will format the picture and fire it off to Sue. So I'm going to tap on actual size, the 4.8. I always send Sue all of my photographs in the actual size because I know she wants to edit those and do things to them. So I'll tap actual size. Ready, tap. And I'm done. That's all there is to it. So now let me back up. Here we are looking at all of my photographs once again. And now what I want to do is I'm going to choose a different picture. Let's say this one. That's Sue standing on our lanai. And I want to send this via a text message so that she gets it instantly. I don't have to wait for her to eventually open her email. This thing is going to pop up on her iPhone screen and her iPad screen and her Macintosh instantly. So once again, I've chosen the picture I want to send. And once again, in the lower left-hand corner of the screen, there's the little blue box with the arrow pointing up. I'm going to tap on that. Ready? Tap. Here we are again. And once again, right in the middle are all the different places that I can send this message. This time, I want to send it to Sue as a text message. So the second icon from the left is messages. That's iMessage on an iPhone. I'm going to tap on that. Ready? Tap. And now it wants to know, who do you want to send this to via a text message? And once again, I'm going to send it to Sue. So I'm going to tap in Sue Reese. Type in S-U-E, and it found her instantly. And it says, oh, the top one, that is Sue's iPhone number. That's her telephone number. That's what I want. So I'm going to select Sue Reese's iPhone. That's where I want this text message to go. So I tap on Sue Reese. Ready? Tap. And so it says to Sue Reese. And here we're looking at some text messages from yesterday. Sue was out on some errands, and she texted me and said, I'm on my way home. And we had company coming, and I said, no one here yet. But now, more importantly, this picture has been inserted directly into this text message. And when I send this, she's going to get this picture. Once again, just to the lower right-hand corner of her photograph, you see the blue circle with the white arrow. And that always means this is how you send a text message or send an email. So now I'm simply going to reach out and tap that blue circle with the white arrow. Ready? Tap. Done. That's it. That's how easy it is to send a photograph, or it could have been a video. It really doesn't matter if it's a photograph or video. They work identical. So as you see, it's only 1 or 2 taps of your finger. You go into the Photos apps, you choose the picture you want, like this. You tap on the little blue square with the arrow lower left-hand corner, and you then select, do you want to send this as an email, or do you want to send this as a text message? Okay, thank you, Morrie. Let's talk about sharing a picture using Airdrop. So here's the situation. You're at a party or a dance over in the ballroom, and you're taking pictures, and so are a half a dozen of your friends and neighbors. Everybody's shooting videos and snapping pictures, having a good time. How many times have you had someone say, would you send that to me? Send me those pictures. Well, I want to show you how to send them to someone instantly right there in the room before you even leave, and we don't even need to use email or text messages. We're going to use something called Airdrop, which is built into our iPhones, our iPads, and our Macintoshes. So, first of all, you need to turn on Bluetooth on your iPhones and iPads. Everybody needs to turn on Bluetooth. And you just go into Settings, Bluetooth, and turn it on. That's all you have to do. Bluetooth is a wireless network, but it has a limited range of about 33 feet. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to airdrop a picture or a video directly from your iPhone or your iPad into another iPhone or iPad using this short-range Bluetooth wireless network. So you have to be in close proximity. And it also depends upon what's between you. Are there walls? For example, I can go out on my lanai and I can airdrop pictures and videos back into the Macintosh sitting in my office. And that's probably a distance of 25 to 30 feet through 2 walls, but it still works. So officially it says 33 feet, depending upon what's between you and the 2 devices. Are there lots of walls? Are they concrete walls or steel walls? Are you in a boat? So take that 33 feet with a grain of salt. That would be under ideal conditions where there's nothing between the 2 iPhones. You're just standing out in the yard or a room. So this is what it looks like, and now what I want to do is show you a video. When you select Airdrop, the screen turns to this. And so my iPhone looks out there to see who is around me. And this little number 2, it's telling me there are 2 devices within 30 feet of you, and they all have their Bluetooth turned on. So when I click on this and touch it with my finger, this screen shows up and it says, Morrie, you can send this picture into either one of these devices because they're both within 30 feet of you right now. Okay? So this is what it looks like. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Airdrop to send a photograph from my iPhone, which you're looking at the screen, into my iPad. So I go into Photos, top left corner, ready, click. I'm looking at all the photos. I'm going to choose one right in the middle. It's Sue and I standing together, smiling. So what I want to do is I want to airdrop this picture directly into my iPad. Now I'm sitting in my office and my iPad is sitting on my desk right in front of me along with my Macintosh laptop. So I'm going to select the box with the arrow down in the left-hand corner. We've seen this before. Here we go. Click. And now instead of sending it by message or mail as I did before, notice on the far left, right in the middle, you see the word airdrop, and it has a big red 2. What that's telling me is my iPhone, right now, it sees 2 devices that I can use to airdrop into. So I'm going to select the airdrop now by touching it. Ready? Tap. And now what I see is it says airdrop a copy, and it's giving me a choice of either my iPad or my MacBook Pro computer. Both are sitting on my desk. I'm going to send this picture into my iPad. So all I have to do is reach out with my finger and I will type the iPad. Ready? Tap. It says waiting, sending, sent. And in less than 5 seconds, this picture has gone from my iPhone directly into my iPad, and it was installed in the Photos app on my iPad. So any 2 people within 20 or 30 feet of each other can send their pictures and their videos back and forth to each other using Airdrop. You don't even have to have a wireless network. We could be on a boat 50 miles out in the Gulf of Mexico, and 2 of us with iPhones or iPads, we can send our photos back and forth between each other using Airdrop because it uses the Bluetooth network, not Wi-Fi. Thank you, Morrie. And finally, this is not necessarily beginners, but I just couldn't resist because it's new and I think it's really cool. I want to show you iPhone photo cutouts. iPhone photo cutouts. This is new with iOS 16. Here's Morrie and Sue in the Swiss Alps. Here's Morrie and Sue at the beach with a beautiful sunset. Here's Morrie and Sue standing in Times Square in New York City. Now, truth be told, Morrie and Sue were not in the Swiss Alps. We didn't sit on the seashore. I've never been to Times Square, but I've got a picture that proves that I was. So let me show you how did I create these 3 photos using something called photo cutouts on my iPhone. So here we go. Now I'm going to show you how I do the photo cutouts. I'm going to start by opening up the Photos app in the top left corner. Ready? Tap. Now what I'm going to do is select a photo of Sue and I in the middle. Ready? Tap. This is one that we used using the portrait mode, so that's why we're sitting here in black. Now what I'm going to do is reach out with my finger and press and hold it on Sue. Ready? Touch. Did you see a kind of a ripple effect? See, it's outlining us. What it's wanting me to do is to press the copy button, And what I will then do is I will copy the image of just Sue and I and Lulu, and it will eliminate the background. So I'm going to tap the word copy. Ready? Copy. So now I have just the outline of Sue and I copied. I'm now going to leave photos. And I'm going to go over and I'm going to open up the Pages app, which is also free. Ready? Tap. Now, I have gone on the internet and Google Images and I have found the 3 backgrounds I want to use. On the left, here is the sunset. I just copied that off of Google Images. In the middle, I have a page that I have pasted a picture of Times Square. And on the right, I found a picture of the Swiss Alps. So I copied those pictures off of the internet and pasted them onto these 3 pages. Okay? So let's say I want to put Sue and I in the sunset. So here's how I did it. I tap on the blank 3 on the right. That's the sunset. So this is a page with the sunset picture pasted onto it. Now I'm going to tap and hold my finger in the middle of the picture. Ready? Tap. And a menu pops up. Cut, copy, paste, or delete. And remember what I copied. I copied the silhouette image of Sue and I with Lulu. And so that's what I'm going to paste now. So I'm going to reach out with my finger and just tap the word paste. Ready? Tap. And voila, there we are. Now I can pick the image up with my finger and I can move it around. And see the little buttons around the edge? If I grab one of those, I can make the image bigger or smaller. So I'm going to move us down here, and I'll move us over a little bit so that the sun is right between our heads, and move us up a little bit. And there is my picture. So this is using photo cutouts. It's brand new in the iOS. I cut off my video. It's brand new in iOS 16. So if you're running iOS 16, you should be able to do this. So this lets you take pictures and paste them together, and now you can be standing of any place on earth, or at least it looks like it. So that's all, folks. I want to thank you very much for watching this. If you have any questions, you can email me at mreese1@me.com. And you have my blanket permission to share this video with any of your family or friends. This is a private YouTube video. Although there are 3.5 billion people on YouTube, only those individuals who are given the URL of this YouTube can watch it. So I'm sending it to all of you, but I'm giving you permission that you can send it to your family and or friends to share it. Okay? Please be well.